In this video, I want to talk about how to become a patient trader. Now, I recently carried out a survey and the majority of answers I got back were to do with lack of patience when it was boiled down to the core. So what do I mean by that? I got a lot of answers back. Most of those answers were to do with lack of discipline and taking various actions outside the actions that were supposed to be taken. So for example, um, being too afraid to enter a trade, not taking profits when they were supposed to be taken, or exiting the trades too early, over trading, those sort of things. And when I actually boiled all these things down to it, the core of it was actually a lack of patience. And I started to think about that because changing ourselves is really, really hard. And this actually coincides with something that's currently going on, which is that I'm now working with somebody on a project who is a 20-year veteran trader. He's highly successful and he makes a lot of money, and he finds patience a daily challenge. And in fact, the times when he actually loses a lot of money is because he lacked patience, so he sees lack of patience as his biggest challenge. So for 20-year veteran successful trader who makes a huge amount of money finds patience a challenge, what about the rest of us? How can we overcome this issue when he hasn't been able to do it? So I spent some time thinking about this because I really wanted to find a way of dealing with the issue that everybody at whatever stage they're at can use to help them deal with this problem. And I came up with a theory, and I just hope that this theory will help you. So there's no guarantees, but hopefully this will have an impact on your trading if you put it into practice. So here it is. So in life, things we do are both proactive and reactive. We do things when we want to do them, or we do them when we have to do them. And in trading itself is both proactive and it is reactive. And the problem traders have is that they are being proactive when it is time to be reactive, and reactive when it is time to be proactive. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're somebody who does as the people in my survey did, responded that you start taking trades when there are no trades to take, you enter your trades too early, you exit the trade too early, you are being proactive when it is time to be reactive. And if you come across a setup, you've been waiting for a setup, and then a trade sets up, all your ducks are in a row, okay, the entry sets up and you don't take that trade, then you are being reactive when it is time to be proactive. If your trade has hit its take profit and instead you let it run to see if you can get even more out of it, and you've already pre-planned that is your take profit, then you are being reactive when it is time to be proactive. Now, the problem with doing these two things in the wrong places inappropriately is that you start to lose faith in yourself. So if you have been reactive when it has been time to be proactive, so let's say for example a good trade set up and you didn't take that trade, then mentally, when you see that trade work out, you're going to start kicking yourself, and you're going to tell yourself that the next time a trade sets up, you're going to want to be proactive. And so as a reaction against being previously reactive, you start to be proactive. The problem is you start to be proactive when you shouldn't be proactive. You start to look for trades, and you're so anxious to not repeat the last mistake that you start taking trades and you start being proactive when it is simply time to be reactive. And I think that maybe part of the problem is not down to patience at all. It is simply correctly identifying those times when it is time to be proactive and it is time to be reactive. So instead of trying to be patient and fighting against yourself, fighting against the urge to take an action when no action is warranted, simply identify when it is time to be reactive and when it is time to be proactive, and make that your behavioral goal. You simply ask yourself, is it time to be proactive or reactive? Put a notice on your, in front of your trading computer, reactive or proactive. And they're simply different behaviors, aren't they? It's not about fighting against yourself or fighting against an urge. It's about not mixing up the two. So, what is reactive and what is proactive? Reactive is waiting for the correct setup, waiting for the correct entry, waiting to hit the profit target. This is a reactive type of behavior. All it requires you to do is wait for the right moment, okay? And a proactive is everything else, which is the preparation for the trade, the analysis, the entries, the money management, the exits, etc. Okay? So very simple to identify what the reactive behaviors should be and what the proactive behaviors should be. So during the reactive time, find ways to pass the time until it's time to be proactive. Simple, okay? So you're waiting for a trade. Let's say you're a day trader, okay? And you may have to wait 3 hours, 4 hours for a trade, okay? During that reactive time, you find ways to pass the time until it's time to be proactive. You know it's time to be reactive. You don't, fight with yourself because you want to enter a trade. You simply observe it. It's time to be reactive. Okay, so what can I do to pass the time away? Okay, read books, do what I do, ironing, play computer games, paint, exercise, use price alerts to so that you could be in another room, that you don't have to be in front of your computer. Use checking rather than watching the charts. You just come back and look every hour to see if it's time to do whatever the action is, and go away again. Okay, so that's really important. So you can write a list of things that when it's time to be reactive, how do you pass the time? How can you usefully or enjoyably pass the time while still being aware so that you don't miss it when it's time to be proactive? So that's very important because you don't want to miss trades. And you find ways to pass the time until it's time to be proactive. And then when it's time to be proactive, you focus on being proactive. So those are your two goals. Reactive when it's time to be reactive, proactive when it's time to be proactive. Okay? So remember, it's not about your willpower or trying to fight yourself. It's simply about differentiating reactive versus proactive time and acting accordingly. Don't forget to subscribe and visit the websites 10timesROITradingSystem.com and traderselfcontrol.com. I hope you've enjoyed this video.